We might be in an AI bubble 20 years later. There's no life without the internet.
Something that is in front of our eyes, changing the world and changing literally every single product that we use today.
That's how firms, law firms, accounting firms actually sell most of their services. These are just like Zoom or Google Meet or whatever calls, 120 to 150.
And how many ended up saying yes?
Omar Pervez Khan is the co-founder of Metric,
a chartered accountant and a former VC himself.
Omar has done $10 million worth of VC deals across South Asia and Southeast Asia.
Over the years, he has worked with hundreds of founders as a CFO and finance consultant,
translating complex finance into practical business decisions. Today, he is building tools to help millions of businesses take control of their numbers and unlock growth across the GCC and beyond.
Congratulations, we have selected you just to be ghosted.
I think that is criminal. Welcome, friends. MENA Means Business. And since you're watching this, I'm assuming so do you. My name is Meenah and I'm the CEO of Metric, where we've built the chief financial AI for businesses across frontier markets. At Metric, we believe that entrepreneurship is an economic force that can change how society, communities, countries, and the world looks like over the next few years. It impacts lives at a cellular level, and it changes the world for the better. And that is why we've started this podcast to bring forward entrepreneurs from different communities, from different sectors, hear their stories, learn from them, highlight their journeys, amplify their voices, and do what we can to make their sometimes very painful days a little bit better. Today, for our pilot episode of MENA Means Business, I have with me none other than my very own co-founder, Omar Pervez Khan.
Hello.
Hi, Omar. How does it feel like to sit across the table from your own co-founder?
It's interesting because we've had so many similar conversations around building Metric and building business in general and all the businesses that we've worked with. And they've all been really informal and everything. So it's interesting. It seems more formal now, a very serious discussion.
We've also had a lot of podcasts that we've been guests at. But we've been sitting on the same side of the table.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Across from someone else who'd be questioning us. But now I get to question you. And not only are Omar and I co-founders, we're also married. And we've been married for almost 10 years now, which means that a lot of the conversations that we might be having today, we've had, in the car or in our own living room. But today we get to, or in the bathroom, because we also have a 5-year-old that we need to sometimes run away from. And that ends up being the place that we can hide and have that conversation. But Omar, tell me about your journey. You came up with the idea for Metric. You were the one that started this journey for me and for all our team and all of our investors. Why Metric? Why the chief financial AI?
Yeah, so being from the finance sector, I'm a chartered accountant. I started my career at PwC, very, very core finance auditing. But, sort of pivoted towards working more with small businesses and startups. And there were a lot of things that seemed easy for me, but seemed really hard for those founders to do because they did not have a finance background. And everyone's sort of seemed okay with that relationship where the founders are running the business. They don't really know their numbers and they have this accounting firm or an accountant or a part-time junior person coming in, just recording their transactions, checking their invoices, and at the end of the day, filing their accounts and tax for compliance.
Yeah.
And this sort of status quo or this sort of norm felt very odd to me because the more and more I worked with small businesses, the more I learned that their numbers are really telling them a story that can help them grow their business. But they didn't seem prepared to start looking at those numbers. And so I learned that it's not about them not being prepared. It's about the finance sector being set up in such a way that it's really hard for someone who doesn't know IFRS or tax law to even start making sense of it.
Those are scary words and phrases. Like
in itself.
Yeah, I've been an SME owner, and if you came to me and started talking about tax law or IFRS, my eyes would glaze over, and I would try to run out of that conversation as fast as I could.
Yeah, and that's how firms, law firms, accounting firms actually sell most of their services by scaring the founder. Like I'll come to you, I'll say, UAE corporate tax law, if you don't file in time, there's a 10,000 dirham fine.
Which is true.
Which is true. It's true. But the thing is, it doesn't, like, I didn't want to come at it from that angle. It's true, and those services are important. But, we can do more as finance professionals. We can do more than just, saving you from penalties. We can actually help you use your numbers to make decisions that will grow your business.
Yeah.
And inshallah, reach a point where a 10,000 dirham fine doesn't even mean much to you. And so that's like, I remember we were sitting like at the breakfast table, and that's what I was thinking, like, how do I make these things easy for small business owners? That was like the only thought. That was the problem. It was too hard for them. You open an Excel sheet, they're scared of it. You open financial statements, they can understand it. The accountant speaks a completely different language for what the business needs to make a decision. The business owner said, just tell me this one thing. And the accountant said, no, we do like this, and then we'll make this report, and then we'll find this, and then, these are the liquidity ratios, and this is your P&L.
Wow.
And
more scary words.
Exactly.
I think as business owners, we don't even know what we really need from our numbers a lot of times, beyond the compliance side of things, right? Beyond the, I'm scared of this tax penalty, or the government has asked me to like submit XYZ audit reports, or, the investor has asked me for audit reports. I don't think we realize what a treasure those numbers can actually be on decisions that we're taking daily.
Yeah. So I think what was needed was a translator between the accountant and the business owner. The business owner doesn't know what they need from their numbers, but they know what they need. Mm-hmm. Like, can you just tell me how much money I'm losing, or how much money I'm making, or what am I spending on marketing, and what am I getting in return? Right?
What do I sell more?
Yeah, so those are core questions. But when you ask that question to a person who's just looking at it from an accounting point of view, it's really hard for them to like match what they're looking for. And that's how Metric was born. I would like just try to make it easy for them, not scary. Our app was designed for the business owners that they can use it themselves if they want to. They don't even need an accountant until a certain point.
Yeah,
and they can actually extract very bite-sized insights from it, which they could understand and they could take action on.
Yeah. So I'm not a finance professional or an accountant, but as somebody who worked with a lot of SMEs, I get all those questions. I have gotten all those questions as well over the last 10 years. Even when I was on the VC side of things, even when I was designing programs or delivering training on access to markets or whatever, people come up to you, business owners come up to you, and they ask you, Meenah, what do you think? How much profit margin should I set? And I'm like, I have no idea of the shoe sector, for example. I have no idea of the shoe sector, and I have no idea of the shoe sector in your market, in your region. Me as a consultant or as an advisor or even as a mentor or coach, any number that I give you is going to be BS. It's not going to be real. It's going to be like completely pulled from thin air. I can try to make some reasoning behind it. I've seen, cake businesses make 15% margin that are selling to this kind of socioeconomic segment. So, I can come up with some kind of, again, BS reasoning to justify it. But actually, I'm pulling it out of thin air. And then if you clone me and put another coach, mentor, consultant and ask them the same question, they could give you an answer that would be completely opposite to mine and also have the same kind of reasoning. But none of us are looking at the numbers because we don't have access to sector data.
Yeah, and as a consultant, you can tell them how to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
You talked about what your target audience will be, what you want your brand to be. Is it going to be low end? Is it going to be high end? And then you can sort of give them, okay, your margin, if you're doing a high end thing and you want your brand to like be the value over time, then you put a higher margin. Or if you wanted to sell to mass market, of course, focus on your costs, build the cheap stuff, and sell it for cheap as well.
Some kind of logical framework.
So as a consultant, you can give that, but the business owner has that's what I say. They have one question: what should my profit margin be? And as a consultant, you can tell them how to do it. But at that level, when they're just starting out, when they're really, really small, like consultants work for like bigger business, I think.
Yeah.
Depending on
even for bigger businesses, So how does the chief financial AI change this game?
So what Metric does, and the chief financial AI herself, which is Max,
It's a girl.
It's a girl. Max is a girl. It's you can say it's gender neutral.
Did I know this? Interesting. Okay.
It's
Well,
gender neutral.
that's great. I love it.
But
Okay.
actually, Max is a girl. Max is a star, so you can, say whatever. But so Max and Metric itself connects to any system that you're using. For example, if you have an accountant that's using QuickBooks for you, or Zoho for you, or if you're selling on Shopify or Zid, those sort of platforms, it will connect to your numbers and translate it into a way that you can understand. Give you some core numbers right from the start. Again, no consulting. I won't say it's BS, but it's not a guidance. Like consultants are like guides, right? So it's not guidance. It's like, okay, you're the business owner. I want to know how much money I made this month. That's it. And it gives you those numbers, on a very easy.
And it's backed by numbers, not biases.
No, it's backed by it's backed by your own numbers.
Data.
It's
Sector
backed by
data as
data.
well.
It's also backed by other businesses in your region, in your sector, the data that they have. It's sort of aggregated, anonymized, and so you can then understand not only what your margin is, for example, the question you said a lot of businesses ask you. You can understand not what your profit margin is currently. You can also know what it should be based on the benchmark of your sector and your region.
Yeah.
And so that's what Metric does as its core. And then with Max, the chief financial AI really becomes a co-pilot for the business owner, where you can just start asking it any question and it's going to pull out your numbers, pull out sectoral data, benchmarks, everything. And it'll give you a very, very easy to use information that you can build. You can ask it anything, make a chart for my 5-year business month on month. What is the seasonality in my business? How many discounts have I given in general so far? And was that a good decision? Was that a bad decision based on like margin? And so it really changes the game. You can now have a conversation with a CFO that's actually speaking your language, but also has all the power that a finance, executive would have.
And that's the power of AI also, right? Like if we shift gears a little bit, we keep hearing about AI, the AI hype, the AI bubble, the AI boom, and you go to conferences and you'll have a panel where people are kind of talking for and against the AI hype, and you'll have some people say, don't fall into the AI trap. This is just a fad, or this is just the new shiny thing. And there are people who are making fun of startups and businesses who are integrating AI into their product. How do you feel about this? What are your thoughts?
So I think we might be in an AI bubble based on some like data and some funding statistics, but that doesn't mean that it is overhyped. The applications of AI are clear for everyone to see not just like in business, in their daily lives. People are using it for multiple things in their personal lives, cooking, as a therapist. Someone are using these chatbots as therapists.
Which
I'm just saying,
be careful if you're using it as your therapist. Be careful.
We're not recommending it. I'm just saying, people are doing that, whether they should or not. But the point is that there are a lot of applications. So when the internet sort of started booming, early to mid 90s, and people were saying that it's in a bubble. There were like big, really famous economists who are still famous, who said the internet is just a fad. It's like the fax machine or something, and it's going to come and then it's going to go. And, the dot-com bubble happened late 90s, and, they might have thought that they were right. So, like the bubble burst, basically, late 90s. So we might be in a bubble. Things, too, tend to get overhyped in markets. From investor perspective, from government perspective, maybe. But there are still a lot of applications there. And so, like 20 years later, there's no life without the internet. So even if there was a bubble made and it did burst, but the applications that the internet, the real life and business applications that were actually created by the internet persisted. And I think AI is similar. I think AI is as big as the advent or invention of the internet. It has completely changed the game already, and people don't realize it's actually, even people who hype it, they say it's just getting started, but that's also true. Like 4 years ago, no one even knew ChatGPT. No one knew OpenAI. They've been at it for like 15 years or more.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's
I thought it was a new thing.
Yeah, but they just finally made a product that was usable at a retail level, and
Yeah.
suddenly people. So even 4 years ago it was zero, and now it's like everyday life.
Yeah. Our CTO has been working on machine learning for 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
10 years ago, I did not even understand what she was building. But now she's building something for Metric, and she's one of our co-founders. She's amazing. Shout out, Habiba.
So I think everything that goes up, there is people who or there is hype and bubbles might be forming. But what we need to understand is what are the core applications, and those are there's no doubt. There's no doubt that there are insane amount of applications.
So my stance on this is actually a lot more clear than yours. I don't like it when people sit on panels and say this is hype or, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely think that as something that is in front of our eyes changing the world and changing literally every single product that we use today, changing every single system that we use today, if you sit there and tell young people, tell doers, tell builders that this is something they should ignore, even a little bit, I think that is criminal. I think that is dangerous. I think at this point, we should be telling everybody, look at this tool, figure out how to use it, figure out how to use it responsibly, figure out a way that you can make it work for you, whether it is internal, whether it is a part of your product, but do not ignore this.
Yeah. The hype, the application is not hyped at all. I think it's underhyped. I think because retail and people who are obviously not AI experts, they just learn as it comes. They don't know what's being worked on next, right?
Yeah.
So actually, the applications are underhyped. The hype and the bubble only comes on where the investment level is, where
I mean, we've both been on the investor side of things. We know how it works.
Yeah, so that's where I would divide it. Like when
Yeah.
it comes to I would never tell a business owner or a startup to not consider AI because it's hype. No, its application is underhyped. If you're not starting now, you'll miss the next as well. You need to learn as you go. From an investment point of view, maybe a little bit in some markets.
Okay,
As
makes
a
sense.
finance person.
Makes sense. So tell me about your fundraising journey. Congratulations, you've just announced your seed round.
Congratulations to you too, yes.
Thank you so much. It was very painful. But tell me how you went through it and what were the ups and downs. How did that journey look like for Metric?
Yeah. So Metric has seen I won't say it's unique, but we have seen we have had 2 funding rounds right now, and we have seen both sides: the bubble side, which I was talking
The
about,
2 extreme sides.
and the complete bust. And the VC, we say in non-financial terms, you can say VC is fickle. In financial terms, you can say VC is super high risk. So whenever it's a risk-off environment, VC will be one of the first asset classes that get reduced funding.
Let's stop spending, yeah.
Yeah. So when we raised our pre-seed, it was much easier because we were almost at the peak of the bubble. And we were building something meaningful. It's not just a bubble so people will fund anything. We were building something meaningful. We got a good traction early on, and so we closed it around pretty quickly. That was not painful at all.
Yeah.
It was
10 working days.
10 working
Our
days.
pre-seed
around was
round.
closed.
Beautiful.
Fast forward to seed,
Yeah.
and the world had changed quite a lot, and it was changing while we were. As soon as we announced the round, it started changing. So when the VC sort of ecosystem started going down, some banks around the world started, going bust. And so it was a very, very different environment, not just in terms of like people pulling funding, but the whole sort of conversations sort of changed, and the level of commitment sort of changed. So
I think risk appetites changed overall, and with that, what people were asking, what people were looking at, what people were demanding of you, completely shifted.
Yeah. So in a risk-on environment, sort of last time there was more about growth, where you can get to. Now it's more about sustainable growth.
How do you survive?
Growth, but sustainability.
It was about survival. It was like, how do you survive? How will you live through this?
Exactly.
If there are dark days coming, winter is coming.
If we give you the money, where's your next funding coming from? or will you be able to sustain it with this funding? And even the level of commitments from VCs, then you had to start taking with a pinch of salt. So even if they said they were in, they will probably won't, or they might not be. We had commitments, verbal commitments, but they were solid commitments, congratulations, we have selected you and we're going to lead this round, just to be
From partners
of really, really big funds. And just to be ghosted. And after 6 months, we would find out, oh no, we couldn't because of there's some reasons. And, maybe the reasons were, valid.
Yeah.
But, the conversations around this sort of became a little strange. We saw more VCs started ghosting, more investors started delaying, DD being really, really long. But alhamdulillah, when you're building something good and, the market is responding to you, then you will be funded. And that's, or you should be funded.
I know a lot of really excellent founders who unfortunately have not been able to raise. If I was still funding, I would fund them, but I know they've had a tough time.
I would rephrase that. I mean, you should be funded. So actually, you're right. Actually, in a risk-off sort of environment, it does also come down to many other factors, which will not be related to you or your business. How the conversation goes, who is doing the intro, is it a warm intro, did the VCs find you, or did you go after the VCs or other investors?
Actually, on that, there was somebody who commented on one of my posts recently on LinkedIn, and it was a really good question that I thought we could answer today, which was, how do you get warm intros? It sounded like it was a new entrepreneur or a younger company, and they were going into their first maybe funding round. So how do you get warm intros?
So I would break down warm intros into a couple of categories. And that's how you need to be. Fundraising, you need to be so razor sharp. It's really, really deep, especially in this sort of environment. You can't just say, okay, I'll go away and I'll talk about my business, I'll get money. It's really hard right now. And so fundraising is like a whole sort of strategy in itself that you need to do. So when it comes to intros, the best intros are those. Number one is when the investors reach out to you. When they see, you somewhere, meet you somewhere, or they see something online about you, or they see, customers talking about your business.
Yeah.
Or they see some other investors talking about it and considering investing, then they will probably reach out to you. And those are the best ones because their interest is already sort of peaked. They've already seen your business from a high level and they think that it's a good fit. So those questions are already answered if they are reaching out to you. Those are rare, of course, but there are ways to make sure that so it becomes important that you're doing the work, you're getting the customers, but it becomes really important for the market to know, and the VC, the investor is also market, to know that you're doing really good stuff, and that's why you especially focus a lot on
branding,
positioning
yourself, branding yourself,
the company, the founders themselves, the team. How will people know? You might be doing a great job, but how will people know?
It's important to build in public now, more and more so. And we've seen, even very recently, our peers who are building in public get multiple X times more opportunity, more investment as well, than people who are not building in public. And this is hard for a lot of people. I know even for you, right? You're a converted introvert. You have crossed over to the dark side.
I was your cookie cutter accountant persona, profile, archetype, whatever you want to say.
Yeah. So you're somebody who's converted from that side, right? And I know it is so hard for a lot of people. When in a lot of my coaching calls, actually in probably 98% of my coaching calls, one of the things we end up talking about is personal branding and positioning, because it ends up being the way to get to a lot of different types of opportunities, and that includes investment. So my answer to that question is similar to you, is before you start fundraising, almost 6 months before, create a plan to get yourself noticed. How do you, over the next 6 months, position yourself? What are the events that you attend? What are the conferences that you get to? Can you get a speaking slot at any one of them? What are the channels that you can be really vocal on and really talk about your values, your mission, your cause, your journey, so that by the time 6 months down the line, you want that warm intro or you want to reach out to somebody, you're already positioned as somebody who is investable. And I think that's the other thing that you need to keep in mind, right? You have to look at it from the VC perspective. And I think we were really lucky that we were VCs before this. And so we understand that side of things. But what makes a deal a good deal? What makes you an investable founder? Yeah. And so you build yourself, you put in the effort before you go into the fundraise, so that by that point, you are already positioned as somebody who is a good deal.
Yeah, and it's not anything unique to VC. If you really look at it, any big company that is about to IPO, like 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, whichever investment banks are underwriting them, they'll create a whole roadshow. You'll go on talks, you'll go on TV, you'll go on Bloomberg, you might write a book. It's because people need to know it. If it's an IPO, it's a public offering, for example. If people haven't heard about your business, they're not going to participate in it. Books themselves, authors they publish books, movies that come out, actors, they come on shows, they come on Oprah, they talk about the movie. This is not something unique to VC, and it's actually it's an awareness campaign. Basically, crypto projects, they start 8 months in advance. Kickstarter projects, there's a whole strategy. Product hunt launches. Yeah. So when we think about it, it's something that maybe more founders need to learn from more mature asset classes because it's already done. In these mature asset classes.
Yeah, even real estate does road shows and crazy campaigns and people
you're
calling
thinking,
you up.
Oh my God, how much money do these guys have? These campaigns are crazy.
They're burning money to to sell this apartment. Like 5 people have already called me from this company trying to sell one apartment. Like, what are they doing?
Yeah, there's like 100-meter billboard on Sheikh's Eye. Like, oh my God, like where do you get the money? But the thing is, it's an investment. They also know that the more awareness they create, the better chance of their launch to go well. So 100%. So that's like the best one. Then the second one, which I was saying I sort of segmented, is warm intros from other investors. Mm-hmm. And within that, warm intros from your investors are usually better.
For that, you have to get an investor first.
Yeah, exactly.
And hopefully it's a credible investor who can actually speak on your behalf. And that's really what we have, amazing investors. Amazing investors. And they've done a lot of legwork on our behalf.
Exactly. So even if you don't have investors, you might be having, multiple conversations.
Sometimes even clients can become your champions.
Yes.
If you can get a client that can become your ambassador or a mentor.
Yeah. Whenever like customers speak about you, it's like, the market is telling you that you're building something that is needed, and so that's really cool. And if you're raising investment and one investor is seriously considering it, that you can also consider as a warm intro to others. Like if one investor is considering it, they'll probably reach out to their network. But then if you're speaking to someone, you can also say, if you want to speak to them, that's also you can, because
that's how our latest investment from Atypical Ventures came about.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out Yusuf, who is from a fund that is looking at us for our next round. And they made an introduction to Atypical to say, we're not going to be part of the seed, we're going to be part of the next round, but we're seriously looking at them. Maybe they're of interest to you. And that's how Atypical ended up coming in.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That works.
Exactly. That fund was a little for like a later round. They didn't have
their
mandate
later
for the
stage,
early. So, but they found like, okay, we need, if these guys get some early, they can reach a point where we're able to fund them. So he became Yusuf became a champion for us, and so it's amazing.
How many investor conversations did you have for this round?
So I actually counted it because at one point we're like, I want to count this because this is like day in, day out, nonstop.
Yeah, we were doing 5 calls a day at some point.
So I would say between 120 to 150 real meetings, not just like conversations which happen on email.
Not the conferences and the, chance meetings. These are
channels,
like actual on our calendar meetings.
Yeah, not WhatsApp chats, those were separate. Email threads, those were separate. Conference networking, those were separate. These are just like Zoom or Google Meet or whatever calls, 120 to 150.
And how many ended up saying yes?
I think in this round, 12.
12. So what's the conversion rate on this?
7 to 8%, I would say, like anywhere between 7 to 10%, depending on what the exact number of calls was.
Maybe we need to do some benchmarking around this. Did we do well on this? Were we like below the average? What does the average kind of look like? And of course, for every single person who's fundraising, this looks completely different. But the reason we wanted to share this number is to give hope to a lot of people who might be struggling, especially in this economic climate. I know that when you announce a funding round, you suddenly get all this really positive energy and attention, and everybody's congratulating you. But you're just so tired. People are calling you up to say, congratulations, mabruk, like this has happened. And you're like, yeah, I just need a nap. I need a vacation. Like this has been painful.
And number one recommendation, 1 week at least off after you close your round, if you do, inshallah.
Yeah.
You need it to get back into your business.
Yeah. Yeah, to have the energy to get back in the game, because it is also so different, Omar. The mindset of building versus the mindset that you need to be fundraising. The contexts are often completely different. And so the context switching every single day when you're also building and you're also fundraising, because I know for the two of us, we don't have a lot of startups actually have a delineation where one person is just the fundraising founder and then the other person is the builder. But then for us, for the two of us, we're just stronger together when it comes to fundraising. We've taken some calls separately, but we've realized that what works for us is when the two of us are together in a call.
Yeah, because I think what we're building, a lot of you might have heard investors say or other peers say, which is basically the founder product fit.
Yeah.
And when we three founders come together, the fit just fits perfectly, right? Because it's finance, it's small business entrepreneurship, and it's AI and tech, obviously. And so all of us not being there to tell the story sort of, it's like I've had conversations in which you weren't there and I was alone, and it just didn't, it felt incomplete.
Yeah.
Of course I told them about your background and Habiba's, but if when that person is there, that's when they can really see why we are the right fit.
Yeah.
That's why it works for us.
Different people do it differently. For us, this is what works, but also then it becomes important that we are cognizant of boundaries and burnout and making sure you give each other the space to take time off when needed, to get back in the game. So again, contrary to popular belief, most people think that Omar Pervez Khan is the CFO of Metric. You're actually not our CFO. You're the chief product officer at Metric.
Yeah.
What was the switch like from being an accountant, and like you said, a very typical accountant, to becoming a product leader?
Yeah. So I remember when I don't know if we launched the product even at that time, but we sort of announced it. And there was a lot of pushback from the accounting community. I remember some comments because at that time they didn't even know that maybe I was building it. So the credibility was being questioned. Does this person even know IFRS and stuff?
There was also this narrative that what we're trying to build is going to take jobs away from accountants.
Exactly,
so there was this push. There was a pushback.
Yeah, there was a pushback. Are you replacing us? What's going to happen? All of that stuff. And
we're not looking to replace CFOs or accountants. We're looking to empower you, to give you more knowledge, to give the business owner more knowledge so that everybody can work together and make sure those businesses grow to their full potential.
From CFO to super CFO, that's what we're making it. But yeah, my response was like, and why I wanted to be at the forefront of the product itself was because if we're building a financial product, then someone in the product team needs to be from a finance background because we're looking at different things. We're looking at small business. We're looking at like the entrepreneur's persona and everything, the small business owner persona. But at the end of the day, we are building a finance product, and we need to make sure that we are able to translate all of those complicated, complex accounting, reporting standards and all that stuff into something that is easy to understand. And so the sector expert is in a good position to sort of translate it when you put them down and say, okay, no, we need it as simple as this. And so, because I was part of the founding team, I thought it was natural for me to start leading the product and then build a team around me.
Yeah.
And that's the advice I give to like everyone. Sector expertise within the product team at the early stage is really important. A lot of startups, what they try to do is even when they get funding, they try to like get a chief product officer externally. And that product person is like awesome from a product perspective generally. Like, this is how product is built. This is how we're going to do this. This is how we're going to do this. But the founders themselves, they have launched the business seeing, if they're sector experts, they have seen something broken really deeply. And there's some things in the early stage that they can take decisions on quickly. And I think, sector expertise is important.
I think sector experts are able to identify what is broken, because disruption only actually, or at least the majority of times, disruption comes when there is something that is broken. Yeah. A lot of times we will sit and blame XYZ for disrupting XYZ sector because now it is taking jobs away from blah, 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 blah. That's the usual.
The Kareem taxi drivers.
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah. That whole sector. There's a lot of things like that happen, and people are really scared of it. But that is the fact. The fact is they're operating from a place of fear, and they're operating from a place of scarcity, and also they're operating from a place of trying to maintain the status quo, regardless of how broken it is, because they're benefiting from it. Now, if the accounting system was not so messed up, was not structurally not a great fit for the SME sector, then a product like this would not be needed. Right? The reason that this disruption is required, and the reason that disruption in any sector whatsoever is required, is usually because there are some people that are not benefiting from the status quo. There's some people who are being pushed to the side, or the system itself is not inclusive enough, right? And that's why disruption is needed. But like you said, if sector leaders can become the people who also lead the disruption itself, if they bring innovation, that's the best way to do it.
Everyone benefits. So that's the people who want the status quo intact. They're not just people who benefit. They're people who just cannot see that if that disruption can help them if they also are part of the change.
Yeah.
So accounting is like similar. Like, speak to 10 businesses who have offshore accounting firms working for them in the UAE. None of them will be happy with their accountants.
Yeah.
Because there's communication breakdown, there's delay, there's everything, which is.
And if you talk to the other side, if you talk to your accounting, because a lot of our friends run accounting outsourcing businesses, and when you talk to them, you find out how many complaints they have, how many issues they have, how many challenges their accountants face on a daily. It's not that they're not trying, but there's a disconnect, right?
Yeah.
So
So understanding that disruption will benefit all sides and benefit you. I think if sector experts can start understanding that, we'll see more and more sector experts leading the change, which is going to be better because they already have some context. They have already seen the problem deeply.
Yeah.
You'll see a lot of finance, dashboards and intelligence and analytics software built just by tech background people, and they're really good. They're really useful. But my question is why? Why couldn't an accountant see like that this is very much needed, and a person from tech could see it?
Yeah.
And so I think now we see that a bit better. I think even from the investor point of view, the VC point of view, I think this has become more and more important.
I think AI has also changed the game on this.
Yeah.
Because AI has made the building part of things more accessible.
Yeah,
and it has democratized access to being able to build. Because before that, if you were a non-tech founder, or if you were trying to be, if you were an accountant or a business person, whoever, and you're trying to build a tech product, it was really, really hard because we just didn't understand how this would even start. And then dealing with software houses, and we've all had those experiences. The costs are really high. And now with no code, with all of these different tools that are now available with AI, it's become so much easier to build that I think the time has shortened. The time between idea to your first prototype, your minimum viable product should be like this. Yeah. And then you get into the market and you get punched in the face, and then you start to learn. And as you learn more and more, your product should get better. But just because of this, we should see a shift in non-tech founders coming towards tech more and more.
100%, 100%. That's very important. The time to test has become really, really short. First, it was short because it became easier to market it through like social
The
media.
investment also, right? The investment to test has also decreased.
Yeah.
Beyond just time.
Massively. So like you said, even if you find a very low cost software house, it's still a significant cost because there's human labor involved. Well, in contrast, if you're just able to type some words and build something, even if it's just like a walkthrough or a prototype, and you show it to you can show it to people. You can do it quickly. You can do it like almost zero cost at this point. And hopefully that will lead to more sector experts, more people who were a bit scared to who couldn't understand like how this whole tech thing works.
Yeah.
Hopefully now it's
easier for them
to come in, and we'll see more and more.
So let's talk a little bit outside of tech and of the business sector as a whole, especially the small and medium business sector across the GCC, because we're also working with thousands of businesses. What do you see as the most pressing disruptions that are needed, or as the most pressing challenges with a lot of the business owners that you speak to, especially in the GCC?
I think, like in all markets, there are various problems, especially when it comes to emerging markets. I think one of the biggest ones in this region is access to funding,
Especially in the SME sector, right?
Especially in the SME sector, like there is like lots of capital in this region, and there are like huge products that are happening. But when it comes to the SME sector, it really hasn't really translated in the ratio that it should have. Banks still do not lend to small businesses. Really hard to go through that KYC.
Yeah.
When you talk about growth, your business will grow organically. But when you want to grow faster, you do need some fuel, and so access to funding becomes really, really important. I think, and then from like a metric perspective or a general finance perspective, I think the automation of financial intelligence, if I could say it easier, I think more integration is needed between systems in this region, so that when things are connected, everything becomes easier. So if your bank account is connected to your accounting or metric, or your debit cards are connected to wallets, are connected to account receivable platforms that help you get paid quicker, so you can manage cash flow cycles.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit lagging. I think from a business owner perspective, maybe that's not something that comes in their mind, but seeing it
from a zoomed out kind of
lens, this would really remove a lot of friction that happens in day-to-day business in this region.
Yeah, we're introducing a lot of tools, but those tools don't speak to each other.
Yeah.
So we want them to use X, Y, and Z, but have X, Y, and Z operate completely separate from each other, which then becomes painful. And
Exactly.
a lot of times there's like redundant stuff happening, right?
Exactly. So I think like those two are definitely the problem. I think the third problem would be when we talk about the GCC, we look at, even like when we looked at it from a higher POV, it looks like one block. And it is one block, but every country, sort of every market has its own nuances, and those nuances are pretty significant when you really go into it. And so I think if someone is starting from the UAE and they want to expand to Saudi, which is something that a lot of businesses are now looking at, and it's really good. But when they start doing it, they understand that it's not so.
It is not the same.
It's not the same,
and it's difficult.
And we were talking about like these integrations within systems, but these integrations within this whole block are, I think, even one step back right now, and a lot of work is happening on it, and I think it'll become better. But I think expanding is really important in this region, because these countries they're good markets in the sense that the customers, the businesses, they have the power to pay, but the volume is still not high. So that's why you have to look at other markets as your business grows, and I think those integration or this block, growing within this block, can be improved.
Yeah, I completely agree. Last two questions, Omar. The first is, what has been, in terms of your entrepreneurial journey, what has been the one biggest challenge that you think you've faced and you might still be facing?
So when we started, I already understood that the people side of things will be the most challenging because
Yeah.
that's the most variable. Every person is different. Every person has their own lives, their own problems, their own successes, and ups and downs, their own values. And so when we launched Metric, it's still a very value driven sort of company, and we try to work with people with similar values. But people are people and very variable. And I think most of the challenges I've had was around people management, making sure the culture is built the right way and is sustained in the right way.
Yeah.
And that takes it's an everyday thing, every minute sort of thing, and it can really spiral if you take your eyes off of it. And I think
Yeah, that's not a ball you can drop.
that's not a ball you can drop.
No.
What about you?
I think I agree. I think the most challenging bit is definitely the people part of things because, a good friend of ours, John from Okta, I was joking around with him on the way here. Actually, he wrote a LinkedIn post about what a founder's day looks like, where, you have a piece of good news and a piece of bad news and some good news again, some bad news and more bad news and more bad news and some good news again. And this is all in the span of a day. And most of the things that are most of the burning fire issues that are happening end up being around people because they are individuals with their own lives, with things that are going on, with their own agendas, with their own dreams and missions and visions. And so, yeah, realizing that culture is a living, breathing organism. It is not static. You can't just build culture once and then leave it. Your culture is going to, go dip down a little bit, then it'll come back up again, then it'll be somewhere in the middle, kind of like May, and then be great again because somebody great joined, then completely spiral out of control because somebody not so great joined, or something happened in somebody's life. So that's definitely also mine. It's been amongst my biggest challenge has been the people side of things. Last, what was your biggest high during this entrepreneurial journey?
I think my biggest high was definitely when we launched. I don't know. I can't, there's so many highs and lows, and it's just not about the frequency. It's also the highs are super high,
Yeah,
and the lows are super low. But I think when we launched, we really believed in this product. So it's not like we didn't expect it to resonate with business owners.
it was a mission. It was a
mission.
cause.
It was a mission. But when we actually launched the app, the first V1 of Metric on Android only, the response was just so insane that we couldn't believe it. Our teams would go back, check the numbers again. We would tell them, no, check the numbers again. This cannot be true. And within the first 30 days, we didn't even market it, and we were being used in 30 countries. We're like, how did we even get there? We weren't even targeting more than one country at the time.
Yeah.
And within 7 months, it was 120, 150 countries and 190 eventually. So I think that launch was just because it was so unknown. When you're you have all this plan, all this strategy, these projections, these forecasts, but you really don't know what's going to happen when you're going to press the button. And I remember, I think you were the one who pressed the button. There was the countdown and
Thankfully,
stuff.
there was a button because I was like, how does this, will there be a button that I push?
Yeah. So you don't actually know what's going to happen. Will you wake up tomorrow and it's a bust and one person has downloaded your app
You're
and
130 bugs
and left a 1-star review and then that's it? Or, is it going to be normal? But what happened was absolutely crazy. And I think just the disbelief in the whole team, oh my God, what just happened?
Yeah.
Was something that, and there have been a lot of highs after that as well, but I think that's the moment when you realize that, you've actually built something that people are using.
You've given birth.
The real people using.
That's the closest you've come to giving actual birth, right?
The real people in somewhere or in this country number 37 and this city that we've never even heard about and this person who we'll never meet, they're using Metric and they're happy with it, and that's so awesome.
Yeah.
So I think that was mine, and you asked me this question first, so it's mine is the same, the people is the challenge in this, but I don't know if yours is the same high. Yeah.
I think mine has been a more sustained sort of kind of joy that I get, which is from the people side of things again, because every time somebody comes into Metric, we look at it from a perspective of how will this person grow and how will this person go on to achieve their dreams and their mission and their vision. And of course, with some it happens faster, with some it happens slower, but we look at all of these individuals also as a way that we're crafting a legacy for Metric. And so every time that we get to see that growth and we get to see even transitions out of Metric and to bigger, better places and to even more growth, that gives you just so much joy. And I feel that's part of the legacy that I want to build and I want Metric to have in the world.
100%, 100%.
Thank you so much, Omar, for doing this.
Thank you.
This is our pilot, like I said. You're going to see more amazing entrepreneurs come on our show, MENA Means Business, people who do mean business, people who are building, people who are creating impact, people who are facing down some absolutely insane challenges because they believe something about what they're building, because they have a cause, because they have a mission, just like we do. And I hope that you will be along with us on this journey to learn more about how MENA means business.